Good morning. I'm fine well, you know who I am. Fine well. Um, Yet another day. Now, every day, what I said I would do for yourself and for Mr. Biden was to remind you about the dying in Sudan. So, whilst you were speaking yesterday at the G7, everything's wonderful. But meanwhile, back at the ranch, they're all dead now. And there are still more that are going to die. And Mr. Mitchell described in Parliament that, football fields of people desperate for food, just even a little bit like that. And that's enough to get a kid away from where he is, but leave it another day and you're talking about more money in hospital, etc. So they're gone. Now, when it comes to the Lord's my herd, the Lord's my shepherd, the minister used to say that, yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, yet I fear no ill, because thou art with me, thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in God's house forever. And what he said was, that's not a question, surely. It's not, surely we're going to live forever. He says it's as sure as sugar. It is as sure as sugar. Now, he was a police officer, but he decided that he wanted to serve. He wanted to be a minister. And actually, the minister before him was an RAF pilot. And with everything that happened, he was at Battle of Britain. And he had a bike, and he used to go around and pick up all the empties and get the money for the beer bottles, etc. And he worked with the prisoners, he worked with all the young people round about, and there was we had to go down for the nativity scene, and he says, I'm going round looking, he said, because Joseph is actually in jail, so he had to go and look for his understudy, to get him. And then he went up to Elgin, and he's a big family. I've just remembered. And I went up, when I was up there, knocked his door, and when I went in, she was bathing all the wains. So I helped her to bath the wains, and then we went to the pictures, and it was the nun story, and they showed a wee skit of Glasgow Green, and a neighbour had said to her, is Glasgow as green as that? Is it colourful? And she said, oh, aye, it's colourful, all right. They're all lying about drunk. But they had tea in the park there, and Barbara Dixon sang there. And to me, people can protest, but you need to give them a place to go and protest. Just like Hyde Park Corner or whatever. Say what you want to say, instead of this, well, it's right up your barra that there's chaos. It's right up your barra. But as I say, as far as Her Majesty is concerned, hello, guess who's here in front of you? So what I'm saying to you is, think about it again. So, and Mr. Mitchell, you'll need to get it through to him, because when he goes down, they're all going down as well. Plus the fact, all the money that you've got there invested in, whose deep pockets up at the top? It's beyond Mr. Amazon. It's beyond him. So anyway, you make up your mind. If you think it's not going to happen, oh, for God's sake. Of course, it's just going to keep going on and on and on. And every day I'm going to put this forward for Mr. Johnstone to make up his mind. The phone, free phone number. On you go. And as for yourself, Mr. Biden, you've still got Mr. Putin to see. Just been listening to him this morning. Actually, I put a message through to Melania this morning, and for Barron as well. And I've been on to NATO and UN chiefs and left them messages as well. So as I say, it's up to you. But I'm afraid I'm not going away, and the request that I had about subpoena for the person who owns Square and Twitter, he has to answer as to why he did that, and why that's something that's treasonable that he did that, because I'm afraid that Mr. Trump had not handed over to you at that point in time. And the Constitution is sound. The Constitution is sound, and it's because of people from this country. Alexander Hamilton. All the checks and balances that were there. And your banks. And your Coast Guards. John Paul Jones from Scotland. So, I'm going to leave it at that point, sir. I am going to leave it at that point. But think twice.